Hi, it's Tara Palaki here, kinesiologist and yoga teacher, helping you to calm your mind, align your energies, and heal naturally. Today's video is all about how to achieve alignment during the perimenopause. So the perimenopause, I am so pleased that there are more and more conversations beginning to happen around this unique period in a woman's life. Why? Because women have got these very unique experiences that happen through our hormones. And puberty is a time in a woman's life that many of us know about, and that transition from being a girl into being a woman. But there's also another massive hormonal shift that happens, usually around the woman in their 40s, maybe 50s, and that's the perimenopause into the menopause. And like our periods and our menstrual cycles, there hasn't always been good information, helpful information, or easily accessible information around these particular topics. And that's left women feeling very alone, very isolated, and also very unsure and unclear and unconfident about their bodies and what they're experiencing, and unclear and unconfident about how to help support themselves. And so the more we can have these conversations, the more we can engage and to access resources that are helpful, that are inspiring, that are also reassuring and letting us know that our bodies are working as they're wonderfully designed to work, then that helps us navigate a path, a hormonal path that can already be challenging enough as it is, but with reassurance, and that makes all the difference. Plus, also some remedies that are going to be helpful along the way, which can make all the difference indeed. So today, during this video, I want to invite you to consider the perimenopause as a window of opportunity. This is something that Maisie Hill in her book Perimenopause Power describes it as, and it really, really resonated for me. And I really invite you to consider this time in your life as this window of opportunity. So what do I mean by that? This is an opportunity in your life to come into greater alignment and flow with who you are now. There is this opportunity that happens through our hormonal shifts that begins to really shake up our being. And that can mean that our life, the person who we think that we are or should be, the people and places we have around us, the things that we have around us, our beliefs, our vision of who we should be and what our life should look like, it can get really, really shaken up. And that gives us amazing opportunity to grow. Now, that might be for us to grow into something completely different, or it might be to grow into exactly what we were already imagining, but you've got greater alignment and greater awareness as to what that is. And I get, as I'm saying this, that this can be, this whole idea of our lives being shaken in this way can actually be quite terrifying. And it can also be exciting. And this is this place where we've got the opportunity to be experiencing so much if we let ourselves. We equate the perimenopause with so many physical symptoms. And I think we've been so conditioned, haven't we, to consider our bodies in this very mechanical way, in this very physical way. And that's wonderful. We do have to look at that, incredibly so. It's incredibly important to do so. But there's also this idea that we are more than just our physical machinery of our body. We also have our mind and our mental faculties. We also have our emotions and feelings. And we also have our energetic systems, our subtle body. We are so multi-layered. And just as we think about our physical body, it's also worth noting what impact that has on all these other bodies, our mental body, our emotional body, and our energetic body. And I find it really interesting that as we go through life, we change, don't we? I know that what I can do now, what's available to me now as a woman in my 40s is different to my 20s and my 30s. And in some ways, I have so much more wisdom from the life experience. And in other ways, perhaps I have a little bit less energy. But maybe that's because I've also got more responsibility than I've ever had. And I think this is what I see. Women in their 40s are so busy. Perhaps some of the busiest that they've ever been in their entire life. And what really strikes me is that it creeps up on us, doesn't it? This busyness, this responsibility, because we've slowly acquired it over a period of time, to the point where many of us don't even recognize what we're carrying. And so when we're in that place where we aren't really appreciating how much we are doing, how much responsibility we have, and how busy we are, then that can create a disconnect on knowing what we've got as an output in our lives, and then what we may need to come in to nourish us to be able to maintain that output. And the other thing that I also think is really one of Mother Nature's wonderful twists of sense of humour, let's call it that, is that back in our 20s and our 30s, our bodies were way more tolerant of our lifestyle, way more tolerant of us partying, of us working long hours or unsociable hours, way more tolerant of the food that we ate, perhaps more junk food, alcohol, even the relationships that we had in our lives. It could tolerate and bounce back. And then we come into our 40s and our body goes, nah. And it complains and it shows its displeasure far more easily than it did in its 20s and its 30s, and lets us know things that are stressing us out way clearer, with much more distinction than they ever have before. And it's interesting, isn't it, that at a time when we're spread so thin is also a time that our bodies start to really let us know when we're working more harmoniously with them and when we're not. So this is what I mean by an opportunity. This is an opportunity to become aware and to grow and to come into alignment with who you are in this time, because you've never been this age before. So let's have a little look at what's going on physically, or what some of the physical symptoms can be within our bodies during this time. So some of the big ones are around our cycles, and as women we can begin to notice changes. So perhaps our periods become more irregular or more regular. Perhaps there's a shift in that they are heavier or lighter, closer together, further apart. You know, these are all key indicators that we are having hormonal shifts within the body. Perhaps then we're starting to come into an increase in PMT, an increase in rage, anger, frustration, irritability, sleep disturbances or fatigue, breast tenderness, headaches and migraines, brain fog, poor memory, feeling bloated, hot flushes, night sweats, dry mouth, joint and muscle pain, mood swings such as anxiety or depression, panic attacks, vaginal dryness or dryness within the body as a whole, pain during penetrative sex, reduced sexual libido and desire, or maybe it's increased, bladder changes, skin changes, itchy skin, hair loss or thinning, diarrhea, constipation, or both. I mean, that's a pretty sizable list, isn't it? And for many of us, these will experience different symptoms, and we might have the full list, a full house, or we may have a couple that we could go, yes, I've definitely noticed an increase in the mood swings that I'm having, or to notice that my cycle, I used to be every 24 days, I'm now every 30 days, or it might skip about each month. And if those physical symptoms weren't enough, there's also, and I see this so true for so many women, there's this upsurgence where we become confronted by our thoughts and our feelings that we may have suppressed for years. The creative and sexual desires that we can have, they either arise or can disappear completely. And this kind of blowing off the lid of Pandora's box through this heat, this fire that happens within our bodies, that can create more anger, perhaps even rage, irritability, irritation, impatience. It forces us to start to face our past, our present, and our future. And it can be unlike anything we've ever experienced before. Or maybe we have a window of insight during the autumn of our cycle, the PMT phase. But this is going to be longer lasting. This is going to be more consuming. And of course, when we're talking about these really strong emotions, it makes sense that it can leave us as women feeling off balance, unsure of who we are, what we want, and a whole heap of fear on what we're becoming. So I really can appreciate the complexity of all the different dynamics that are going on right now in this phase that gets summarized as the perimenopause. So what can you do if you are being thrown into this time in your life? Well, here's some of the things that I really encourage you from today. Make a list of some of the things that jump out to you and go and take some action on these. Because this is such a wonderful time for you to get to know you. But with that, you may also need to have other resources, other support, and that is absolutely okay. So the first thing that I suggest is do your research. There are so many women talking about the perimenopause now, from their own experiences to professionals beginning to show up and share remedies, tips, explanations as to what's going on in the body, reassurance that you're not going crazy, that this is actually a time in your life. Women like Maisie Hill, her book, The Perimenopause Power, is a brilliant book. There's another book called My Menopausal Vagina that again provides so much wisdom and guidance for us as women on this journey. And as you go through this experience, learn what works for you. Know that you may be in this phase for 6, 12 months, a year, or you may be in it for 10, 12 years. Nobody really knows what, and especially we're all very unique. So it's so important that you learn what's right for you. And be prepared to keep reviewing this as your hormones shift and move and change throughout month after month. As frustrating as it is, knowing what worked for you back in January may not work for you by, the following June, July. Again, this is part of the beauty of the phase that you're in. Is the landscape is ever changing. So keep checking in with you and learn what works for you. And really give yourself permission to explore natural as well as medical support with this transitionary time in your life. There is so much bonus and so much available on both sides. And I wouldn't like to say that one is better than the other, but what I would say is that they complement each other beautifully. And to just, it might be more aligned for you to do one or the other, But if you are still suffering and you are finding that things aren't getting better for you, then do look to complete that natural and medical support. And likewise, know that it's okay to keep searching to get answers. If you go to your doctors and you don't feel like you're being listened to or being offered anything of value, move on to another doctor's. Likewise, find a therapist, find a professional coach, therapist that's going to be able to support you in the way that you need on your journey. And these become really important, more so at this time in your life than any other time. Exercise is so key. I've seen the difference it makes in women when they're going through these real hormonal surges and they've got something like HIIT to be able to get this excess energy out, this anger, this irritability. They've got a channel for it. So not only is it doing some amazing anatomy and physiological good for building bones and density and everything for osteoporosis, it's also psychologically really, really helping them to have an outlet for this charge of energy. Likewise, it's important with the exercise to have balanced exercise at this time. So if you have a very physical practice like HIIT, running, anything that's weight and HIIT based will be so good. Have something that offsets it. Yoga, especially things like yin yoga, restorative yoga, time to be able to get quiet, to get still, come into these replenishment phases. So with exercise, think balance. Diet. You may notice that your diet, the foods that you can eat, have a different relationship in your body. If you used to be able to eat bread, suddenly you may experience being bloated way more easily with this. Alcohol can be another biggie. I'm sorry to bring that news, but alcohol can be another biggie where women have it and then they notice that they're up during the night, their sleep is more disturbed and they end up with hot sweats. So get to know, keep a food diary and start to note down how food feels when you're eating it and then how it leaves your body feeling afterwards. And chances are if you're bloated, heavy, lethargic, gassy, those foods are no longer working for you. However, the foods that give you energy, help you feel lighter, more buoyant, those are going to be the ones that are telling you, your body's telling you, I like these work for me. Look to create space to explore what's coming up for you. We've spoken about these really big surges of emotion. We've spoken about these really strong feelings that can be really shaking up your life, where you're questioning perhaps your marriage or your career choices or, all these big sort of questions. And that can mean that you don't necessarily want to speak about those things to your nearest and dearest because of fear of upsetting people. And so having a space that you trust, that you feel safe in to be able to talk and explore and share these things that are coming up is really important. And also to have the space to be reassured that it's okay for these things to come up. When we're questioning in our life in some of these big ways, that reassurance can go a long, long way in helping to let us know that actually we're not going mad. This is kind of part and parcel with the phase of life that we're in. And that can come in a number of ways. It might come through professional therapy. It might come through like a sisterhood circle, or it might come through a friendship group. Find something that works for you. And this is kind of along that line, really, of honouring what comes up for you. When you are getting these strong feelings, thoughts, ideas, listen to them. It can be so easy to let fear dictate and to push them away. And I get it. When they feel very big, it's very easy to become overwhelmed and very scared. What does this mean? What will happen? So having that space to work through is going to be really, really key as you go further on your journey. And then finding ways to be able to, if you have a partner through this time, of being able to communicate with your partner what's coming up for you, especially if your partner is male. I do observe men don't have the same hormonal system that women have, and that can be really difficult or can create complexities in them being able to understand and appreciate what us as women go through, because they just don't have the same experience to call on. And so the more we can enter into this space where we can communicate well with our partner to help them keep up with what's going on, not necessarily all the ins and outs of it, you know, like I say, some of that you might want to keep for a more sacred space, but to explain and let them know that actually there's a lot going on for you, and find those ways to help communicate some of the hormonal shifts and the moods and perhaps even the interest or lack of interest in sex, the vaginal dryness, finding these ways to come together, and, you know, if this is part of what you want to be experiencing, to also experience intimacy in a way that feels good for you too. And then this is my final point. Create space for rest, replenishment, and nourishment. Learn what nourishes you. Like I say, women in their 40s have so much that they're responsible for. They're so busy. And that's got to come from somewhere. And often I see women that are really depleted. So it becomes absolute paramount to create nourishing self-care. And for some of us, that will be a bath, but often it's more than that. It's going to be creating practices that are dedicated spaces where you are not somebody's partner, where you are not the mortgage provider, where you are not the mum. You are able to be you. And for periods of time, you are able to just be responsible for you. And have space, like I say, to really get to know what nourishes you, what fills you up, what gives you absolute guilt-free, pure nourishment. So things like yin yoga, restorative yoga, these are amazing. And if you want to know more, check out my pages, because I do offer online yin yoga classes that have got all of this intention in mind. The intention for this rest, restorative space. And then we spoke about alignment to start with, and aligning with the perimenopause. You know, we've spoken about all these big shifts and changes that are going on. And I really encourage you to come into alignment with these steps, with these actions. And what does that mean? Alignment can be experienced in your body. Alignment, when you're in alignment with something that you are doing, the people, place, doing the people. No, when you're in alignment with the spaces that you are in or around you, the places that, again, you exist within or around you, or the people. How does it feel? Start to have this sense of self-check-in. Do you feel heavy, weighed down, tense, anxious? Because that can be clear signs that actually you're out of alignment with that particular part of your being. Or are you feeling light, energetic, and positive? This can be a very clear indicator within our bodies that we're in alignment with that particular course of action that we're taking. And so really consider coming into alignment with the foods that you're eating, the supplements that you're taking, the exercise that you do, and the spaces in which you exercise, the people that you're with, even down to the TV and the media that you absorb. Just think of those glossy magazines. What messages are they telling you? How do you feel during reading those? What are you ingesting? Align with this idea of having guilt-free time out. And I think that's such a big one when women are so used to carrying so much responsibility. There can be so much guilt attached to stepping back and investing in you first. Look to align with that light, energetic and positive feeling within your body when you're taking action that's good for you, nourishing for you. Might even be look to align with medical intervention. I know some people can feel a resistance, especially if they're more naturally orientated. But sometimes, like I say, we've got an amazing medical system. There are no handouts and rewards for soldiering through this. It can be tough enough as it is. Look for where there are solutions. Align with talking through this experiences and the stuff that's coming up for you. Maybe that's even asking for help at certain points. Again, that can be an alien concept. Some of us have been really conditioned or feel that it can be very exposing to say, I might need some support here, please help. So look to align where that becomes an easier request. Even look to align your sexual energy. You know, as this part of you begins to open up and awaken. And it may be a decrease in energy, or it might be a stimulation. Align with what feels your truth. And align, like I said before, it's so key with taking time out to rest, rejuvenate, and nourish yourself. And know that if you get stuck in any of this, if you find that you're in a place where, you know, even if you've taken actions where you've got some support set up, you've got some of the right food and supplements coming in, but perhaps you're getting stuck in your relationship, or perhaps you're getting stuck in feeling guilty because something's, you know, you've got all these strong emotions, you're feeling really angry and you're not sure what to do with these feelings, then reach out. Let's have a chat. You know that I am available for us to have a free 30-minute conversation over the phone. And this is available to you. Just book in on my booking page. Likewise, there is also the opportunity for you to come to one of my yin yoga classes. Again, you'll be able to find how you can book into that on my website. I'll include the link below. These are really positive steps for you to work with this time in your life and align with your experience of the perimenopause in a way that feels like this window of opportunity that it really can be. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for watching this video, for staying with me till the end. Do feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. Let me know how it's resonated and whether this idea of seeing this as a window of opportunity, you know, how does that resonate for you? What's been your experience? I would love to know more. So from my heart to yours, sending you lots of love and wishing you beautiful balance and happy alignment. Bye for now.